More top Republicans are slamming Donald Trump. Senator Bob Corker made waves for confronting Trump after announcing he would not seek re-election. But a leading conservative notes Corker's new courage is undercut by the way he backed Trump during the campaign when it mattered most.
I have been repulsed by those who try to direct the electoral process in a certain direction, say, well, no matter what people do, we're going to cause this to happen at the convention. To me, that's inappropriate. At the same time, I've planned to support our nominee.
That nominee being Donald Trump. But in a blistering new column, conservative George Will calls out Corker and other Republicans who are speaking out now. Will has strong credentials here. He left the GOP over Trump and was clearer than these other folks coming about nowadays. George Will was clear in warning voters about Trump before Election Day.
After Trump went after the Mexican judge from northern Indiana, then Paul Ryan endorsed him. And I decided that, in fact, this is not my party anymore.
Can the Republican Party withstand Trump actually being their standard bearer?
No. Well, there'll still be a husk of the Republican Party.
He has an advantage on me because he can say everything he knows about any subject in 140 characters, and I can't.
In this new piece, George Will laments Mike Pence becoming a, quote, leashed poodle too sycophantic to recognize his degradations from Trump, and writes Pence is a reminder that no one can have sustained transactions with Trump without becoming too soiled for subsequent scrubbing. Those Republicans who only now warn about Trump after he won and is in charge bring to mind the mythology of the owl of Minerva. You know, some say the owl flies to warn against getting lost in the forest when it gets dark, but because the owl only flies at dusk, when you see her, you know darkness is coming, but it is too late to save yourself. With me now is George Will, who wrote that column. George, are we like the owl when we hear from these Republicans? Did they act too late, and what were you trying to achieve in this new piece?
Well, they did act too late. The president, remember, before he was president, said it's not called the Conservative Party. It's the Republican Party, meaning a not conservative party in his judgment. He has trafficked with members of the alt-right. They are honestly labeled, they are an alternative to conservatism. An alternative to conservatism understood as limited government founded with reference to the founders' doctrine of natural rights. The alt-right with which Mr. Trump is flirting and Mr. Bannon is actively embracing says that, in fact, the tribalism to which we as human beings are subject to temptation should not be transcended, it should be celebrated. It's a kind of right-wing version of the identity politics that some on the left practice. And we're now seeing in Mr. Corker the kind of emancipation of someone who's walking out the door and is free to say what he wants without being afraid of offending the Republican constituency. Some people in the Senate sometimes speak of the 6-year smile of someone who's been recently reelected and doesn't have to face the voters for another 6 years. Mr. Corker may never have to face them again and is therefore emancipated.
And George, do you think these Republicans who went along with Trump during the campaign were expecting him to lose and were surprised that they'd actually signed up for what some of them is 4 years of serious pain?
I think they were expecting him to lose. A lot of Trump's staff were expecting him to lose. There's evidence Mr. Trump, regardless of what he says now, was expecting to lose. But in fact, they're now in a quite untenable position, and you have to have some empathy for them. They are at odds with half the base, no matter which way they jump. If they decide to support the president, then traditional Republicans will find them unacceptable. If they adhere to traditional Republican principles, then the president, as a fellow traveler now of Mr. Bannon, will be with 30 or 40 or 50% of the Republican Party opposed to them. They're in an untenable position. But then, who allowed this to happen, and who, once it happened, normalized him to get to the point where we are today?
And briefly, you call out Stephen Miller and some of these other individuals as having, quote, dominated by those who explicitly repudiate America's premises, that there is something concerning in their challenges to the constitutional order itself.
These are not conservatives, and they don't, to their credit, really claim to be conservatives. They are importing, these people who want to make America great again, are importing continental European, ethno-tribal, blood and soil right-wingery, which is not just not the founders' version, it is the antithesis of the founders' version. Therefore, those who are sailing under the flag of Make America Great Again are actually trying to make America into something that never was and shouldn't be.
You make such an important point, so rooted in history, like a lot of your arguments, that this was not a country built on heritage, and when it responds to its better angels, it's a country of laws and rules and unity. George Will, as always, thanks for being here.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.